All right, so let's begin. Welcome, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever you're joining from. Welcome to Cloud Data Driven User Group. And today we have Pragati Jain as our guest speaker today. A little bit more slides before we begin the session. So, a little bit about Data Driven Community. We have two different branches in our website: Data Driven Summit, Future Data Driven Summit, which we are coming on September 24th. Hopefully, you can go ahead and register and join the conference. It's virtual and it's completely free. And we also have the Cloud Data Driven User Group, like the one we are having today. For more information, simply click the community website, and I'll add the link in the chat in a couple of minutes. Let's see. All right, scroll down the page a little bit to see the upcoming events. On the left side of the page, you can notice like we have the Future Data Driven Summit that I told you like it is going to happen on the September 24th. And this is a annual joint conference we are leading and running with the multiple data platform user group partners. The second branch of the activity, like they are the weekly meetings for the cloud data driven user group like we are having today. You are more than welcome to contact any of our community board members here. My name is Deepthi Goguri. I'm a database administrator and also a Microsoft Data Platform MVP. I'm a third co-admin of the data-driven community, and I'll be hosting this session today. So Jean Joseph, I did not talk about the founder and the secondary co-admin. So Jean Joseph is the founder of this user group, and Ronan is our primary co-admin. And together we are here to help the data platform community. And during the meeting today, please feel free to use the chat and for any questions or discussions as well. And you are more than welcome to use any of those reactions. It doesn't interfere with the course of our meeting today. So if you hear something you like, do not forget to click on those claps or like any of the other reactions. And so I'm so honored to welcome my friend as well as our guest speaker today, Pragati Jain. Pragati is a data platform MVP, and also she's currently working as a manager at Avanade in UK and works towards generating and delivering data insights to various customers. Pragati, before I talk a lot about you, I think you can continue to give more because I know you did masters in data analytics as well. So if you can talk a little bit more about that, and you can go ahead and share your screen.
Thank you so much, Deepthi, and welcome everyone for today's session. And thank you for giving me chance to present at your user group. So yeah, I think I'll just crack on. I'll start sharing the slides and then I'll start a bit of introduction around myself. So let me just start sharing the screen. And yeah, if there are any questions while during the session, just type them in the chat. I'll keep an eye in the chat on the chat, and maybe Deepthi, if you want, you can interrupt me in between the session so we can take up the questions as well.
Sure.
So I'm just sharing my screen. Okay, let me also put up my PowerPoint deck. Perfect. Okay. So first of all, welcome everyone for today's session, and thank you so much for taking our time to attend today's session. And hopefully, by the end of the session, you're going to learn at least one thing. So yeah, that will give me a satisfaction that my job is done for today's event. Okay, so today we are going to talk about Microsoft Fabric. Obviously, many people know about it. Many are already working on it. People are creating amazing client solutions. But today, again, we are here to talk about Microsoft Fabric. And especially today, I'm going to give you like a whirlwind tour to Microsoft Fabric platform. So before we start, just a very quick introduction around myself. I won't talk much about me. Deepti has already given introduction about me. So new update about me is like I'm a new mom to a little boy. He already turned a year, 1 year old few days back. So yeah, not anymore a little one. He's a 1 year old boy now. I'm a Microsoft Data Platform MVP. I'm also a super user at Microsoft Fabric community. So if you know about Microsoft Fabric community, or if you don't know about Microsoft Fabric community, definitely go and check it out, because I have learned most of my Power BI from this community. And there are amazing articles, amazing blogs, amazing, users and forum members that help you with any issues that you're getting working with the Microsoft Fabric environment. So definitely go and check out that community. It's a great place to learn and even share your knowledge. I've got nearly 10 plus years of industry experience, and currently I'm working as analytics manager at Avanade here in London. I'm also organizer of Data Weekender conference that happens once in a year. So yeah, for next year we are planning soon. So yeah, keep an eye on our LinkedIn post, because it's a free data platform conference that is done once in a year, and it's a virtual conference, so you can attend from any part of the world. And apart from that, I also manage Microsoft Fabric UK user group, which is again a virtual user group, which me and Leon Gordon, we both do it together and manage it and host sessions together. Every year we get amazing speakers that share knowledge around Power BI, but now Microsoft Fabric. So yeah, keep an eye on our new upcoming session as well. Our next session is going to be on 25th September, which is week after next. So if you want to learn something around Microsoft Fabric or Power BI, definitely go and check out our meetup page and definitely sign up for the upcoming sessions. One fun fact about me is I like to paint. So I just like to call myself a techie artist as well, because I do a lot of technical stuff around data platforms. So that's how I came up with that word. And yeah, I've got a few Microsoft certifications here and there. The most, I think, exciting one people will be excited about these days is Fabric Analytics Engineer Associate. There is also DP 700 certification, which is there. So those who are coming from data engineering background have got strong data engineering background can try out that certification as well. Okay, so this was a quick introduction about me, and let's just go and dig into what we are going to talk about today. So today's agenda is going to be very simple. Now, before I talk about agenda, the first thing is I'm not a person who talks a lot just with the slides. We'll see more the environment. Basically, I'm going to flip the slides very quickly, but when we go to the Microsoft Fabric environment, I'll take you slowly through everything there, and then I'll show you everything running there. So we'll flip through slides quickly. Okay, we won't spend much time on slides because I can send these slides to the organizers of the user group. They'll share it with you, and then you can see it what's there in the slide. But yeah, just to give up and set a little bit of foundation for today's session, we'll quickly go through the slides as well. So when we talk about today's agenda, we are going to quickly go through the Microsoft Fabric architecture intro, like what the Fabric architecture is about and what all components it has got. Then we are going to talk about different personas that Microsoft Fabric covers. So if you are a data analyst or data engineer or data scientist, how Microsoft Fabric can help you, do your things better. Then next, we'll also talk about Microsoft Fabric platform tour. So we are going to take a good tour around Microsoft Fabric environment, keeping in mind all these different personas, like if you come from analyst background, what you can do within Microsoft Fabric platform, how it can help you achieve things in a better way or create your solutions in much better way. If you are a data engineer, what all is possible within this platform for you, how you can leverage all the good capabilities of Microsoft Fabric platform and use it in your day-to-day work to make things more easy, more streamlined, and more orchestrated. So this is a very simple agenda that we are going to follow in 3 steps, and let's just go and see what Fabric is around. I understand that Fabric has been now here for more than 2 years, and many people have already started exploring its capabilities. So maybe the introduction is not for all the people in the audience today, but still we'll go and just go through it quickly so that we set up a foundation for the session. So when it comes to Microsoft Fabric, it is basically a unified analytics solution, which has the capability of creating an end-to-end analytics solution by bringing together different analytical capabilities. Now, when we say bringing together different analytical capabilities, it is this architecture diagram. So Suddenly, when you see this architecture diagram, there are few things which people can relate to coming from different skill sets or different backgrounds. So for example, if someone is coming from Power BI world, they might not know the things around data science or maybe say data engineer, but it's fine. For them, something is there in Microsoft Fabric environment. So for a Power BI developer, there is an area within Microsoft Fabric which that particular person with the skill set can use. Similarly, a person who's coming from a data engineering background has something in the Microsoft environment for them. They can do something with it. So when we see this architecture diagram, the main foundation of this Microsoft Fabric environment is a unified data foundation, which is termed as one lake. And you can consider one lake like a OneDrive for yourself, where you can put everything together and it can be accessed by many people at the same time, or it can be good from a collaboration point of view. So Fabric has a foundation of a single data layer, and that data layer is a one lake. And on top of that one lake, it is powered by different AI and Copilot features. And when you see the top chart of it or the top part of this diagram, you can see different personas there, or you can see different elements of the Microsoft Fabric environment or different workloads of this Fabric environment. And when I say workload, it means all these different areas that are marked here. So for example, Data Factory, which is basically the workload that can help you with data ingestion capabilities. Data engineering, that is where you can actually bring in the data, and then further you can use some engineering capabilities to transform your data using, say, notebooks. Then data warehousing, someone coming from a data warehousing background who loves writing SQL code, then there is something for you. You can still bring your data, you can land your data in a data warehouse and start working with it. Data science, again, data scientists, they can create their intelligent, or I should say AI powered predictive models to generate insights on top of the data, or predictions on top of the data. Then real-time intelligence to understand how the data has been when it is seen on the real-time basis. Then of course Power BI. Power BI is one of the workload of Microsoft Fabric, which is not a surprise to everyone, because we had earlier Power BI, and then Power BI is clubbed into Fabric environment because it is one of the analytical workload that is part of creating our analytic solution. Then on top of that, we also have, in addition to that, we have also got databases and industry solutions. So these are, this architecture just tells you like there is a single data foundation, and that data foundation can be used to work collaboratively when you have, different skill sets in your team. Like there could be data engineers or data scientists or data analysts or report modelers, but they can access the same data that's in this single data foundation for their day-to-day work. So that's how this Microsoft Fabric architecture is laid, and that's how it, helps you access that same data and gives you that transparency, like what's really happening with the data. Let me one second just put up one chat on the other window. Yeah. Okay, cool. So let's go to the next slide. So this was like a very simple introduction around what is Microsoft Fabric and how that architecture looks like. And I'm sure many of you already know about it. And I might be just repeating this stuff, but it's fine. So in today's session, now, in this architecture diagram, these were all the different workloads that we saw: data factory, data engineering, data science, Power BI, and so on. But for today's session, I'll be focusing on two workloads today. One will be, okay, this is something we'll see while we log into the Fabric environment and how we navigate and see these workloads. So I'm going to skip this slide for now. But today we are going to focus on two workloads. One is data factory workload. And when we talk about data factory workload, it helps and gives you capabilities of data ingestion, data transformation, and orchestration scenarios. So you can use different, ways to bring your data into Microsoft Fabric environment. It could be like a low-code option or a code-based option. If you want to go for a low-code, no-code option, you can always use a data pipeline or the data flow Gen 2. Or if you want to go towards more like a code option, you can use notebooks to ingest your data and bring your data into Microsoft Fabric using data factory workload. So in these, when I talk about workloads, within data factory workload, there are three different item types that I'll be talking about, which is data flow Gen 2, data pipeline, and notebook. And the second workload that we are going to talk about is Power BI workload. We will definitely see like a whole life cycle of data ingestion to data transformation to report generate modeling and then report generating or insight generating, but still focusing on these two workloads, we'll be talking about this whole scenario. And when it comes to Power BI workload, again, those who comes from Power BI background, they know Power BI is basically a BI tool that helps you make the faster decisions, showing by using rich visualization and good reports. And in the Power BI workload, we'll especially talk about the Power BI report, how we can explore the data, how we can create an organizational app, or how we can create a paginated report. Now, not necessarily I might be creating every item here, but we'll still talk about how they fit into a complete, life cycle of, end-to-end process within a Microsoft Fabric environment. Similarly, with the data factory workload, I might not be creating these items like data flow Gen 2 or data pipeline or a notebook, but I'll be talking about them just to make sure that we understand how these items fit in a life cycle when we are creating an end-to-end analytic solution on a Microsoft Fabric platform. So getting started, so these are very basic things. People already know about it, but let's just quickly go through them. So if you want to start with Microsoft Fabric, definitely Microsoft is giving a 60-day trial license, so you can go and sign up for it. And the link is on the slide, and I'll be giving the slides. If you don't know about it, you can just go and use it and try the 60-day trial license to try the Microsoft Fabric capabilities. And then if you want to start learning Microsoft Fabric, you can definitely start with Microsoft Learn Paths. They are one of the best resources I have found over the last few years to get started with anything on the data platform side. Then there is also Microsoft Fabric documentation, which you can look into. So Learn Paths are a different thing and documentation is a different resource. So you can check both of them. And once you have got your 60-day Fabric trial license, then you need to enable that license. We'll see that how we do that in the Microsoft Fabric environment. And once that license is enabled, you need to enable a few settings in your admin portal, which is the tenant settings, under tenant settings, so that you can use the Microsoft Fabric items. Because just enabling the license doesn't allow you to basically create Fabric items in the Fabric environment. In order to make sure that after your trial license is enabled, you are ready to create any Fabric item, you need to enable certain settings under admin portal for your tenant. So that's how we create the Fabric items and enable creation of Fabric items. So we'll see that as well. And when we talk about like what Microsoft Fabric has got, like these questions have been popping up in last 1 year from many people I've worked with before, even within my team, like, okay, especially the Power BI developers, they were like little bit suspicious. Okay, has Microsoft Fabric really got something for us? Because we used to do Power BI pretty good in earlier days, but now Microsoft Fabric has come. So how the Power BI things will be, whether it changes anything for us, or we have to keep doing the same thing. So there were so many questions around that. And obviously when someone asks, okay, what Microsoft Fabric has got, then the simple answer is, I mean, if we just recall the architecture diagram of Microsoft Fabric that we saw a few slides back, it has actually got everything for all of us. Because irrespective of what skill set you have or what background you come from, you can do so many things within Microsoft Fabric. So if you're a data engineer, you can keep writing the way you are used to writing those notebooks by using, say, PySpark or Scala code. And you can still, ingest data, transform data, write them as tables, and then use those tables for further analysis. So data engineers can still do the same thing. Then when it comes to data modelers can still do the same thing, because data modelers are used to creating semantic models using the transform data. So once they have the transform data, they can still access the same data, which is stored on that single data foundation, which is the one lake. And then they can access the data and start creating the semantic models. Same thing for report designers and data analysts. Report designers can use those semantic models to create the report in the cloud environment, which is the Fabric environment. And data analysts on top of that can use that data to do further analysis. And it could be, say, using PySpark, or say they can write good queries using SQL to analyze the data. And even data scientists can write their, machine learning algorithm for predictions. So irrespective of whatever background you come from or whatever skill set you have got, you can still do things in Microsoft Fabric because it is not a platform which is bound to a single skill set. When Microsoft Fabric was announced some time back, then people like us, like for example, I'm a Power BI developer. I didn't have much background around coding skills, but when I started exploring Microsoft Fabric, it actually gave me an understanding that it opened so many doors for me to make things more streamlined or to make things run much faster. Like I am more used to doing a no code or low code kind of solution. But when I started using Fabric, I started getting into, say, writing PySpark notebooks, because PySpark notebooks, say, gave me more flexibility around data transformation. It gave me faster processing time. And it also gave me an opportunity to upskill myself. So when it comes to Fabric, we should not be just thinking it as, oh, should I use it or not use it? No, you should definitely use it because it's just going to help you with whatever you have been doing before. It will just add more skills to top of what you have already got, and it will help you streamline your existing processes in a better way. So that's the simple answer, that Microsoft Fabric has got something for all of us. So we should definitely go and start exploring it. Let's go to the next slide, and that is, let's go to the to Microsoft Fabric environment. Okay, that's the interesting part. So let's just go to the environment. Okay, we are not going to come back to these slides. So let me just share my main screen, and hopefully everyone can see a new screen, which is a browser screen, the Power BI environment. Yes. Okay, cool. So okay, let's go to the earlier days first, and then we talk about Fabric. Now, earlier when Power BI existed, we had Power BI Service, which was the cloud environment where we used to publish our reports and share it with the stakeholders and other users. And that link used to be app.powerbi.com, and this is how it used to look. And you can see on the bottom left, it is Power BI. But now I got Microsoft Fabric 60-day trial license. You can see my trial is only remaining for 20 days now, but I can clearly see I've got a trial license here. Now, when we talked about enabling or getting the 60-day Microsoft Fabric trial license, the second thing I talked about was just enabling the license doesn't give you access to creating Fabric items. You need to go to Settings, your admin portal, and within that admin portal under tenant settings, you need to make sure this setting is enabled for you. If this setting is not enabled for you under your tenant settings, then you won't be able to see the Fabric items and you won't be able to create it. If you are the administrator for your own tenant, you would be able to do this on your own. But say if you're not an admin of your tenant, then you'll have to ask your Fabric administrator to enable this for you, because this setting can be enabled for the entire organization or just for specific security groups. So you can ask your Fabric admin to do that for you. And once this setting is enabled, if I go back to the home, and if I just go back to the bottom left Power BI side, and if I on this sign, and if I just click on it, I start seeing Fabric here. And this will be something I'll only start seeing once I've enabled creation of Fabric items setting in the admin portal. And now the moment I toggle on this Fabric, this sign changes to Fabric, and I see a new different window in front of me in the cloud environment. And when I see that, I can start seeing some new things going on there, like basic data analytics, medallion, translytical, event medallion. There are so many different things I can see. I can see some, learning resources there. What is Fabric? How can I ingest data? And so many things. And then I mean, obviously, these are the workspaces which are Fabric enabled. So I can see some recent activity here. But if you're doing it for the very first time, you will have this as an empty place. You will not see these items here. Now, this is the basic thing that we have done. Okay, now we have enabled everything. We should be able to do and start things with Microsoft Fabric. Okay, so when we talk about creating an analytics solution, we'll be talking about few different elements in there. We'll start with data ingestion. Then we'll see where the data lands. So it could be a place where our data will land. Now it could be a lake house, a warehouse, an event hub based on what kind of data you're working with. And then on top of that, once that data is transformed properly and stored on one lake, we will see how we can create a semantic model using that data. And once we have the semantic model ready, we'll see how we can create Power BI report on top of it in the same environment. And while exploring these different steps, we'll also see some capabilities in different areas. Okay, what all other things we can do while keeping in mind we are creating this end-to-end solution in Fabric environment. Okay, so now first thing, whenever we are talking about creating something or doing into the Fabric environment, the first thing is we need to create a workspace. Now, workspace is basically just consider it as an area where you're going to keep everything for yourself. Like, for example, where your data will be stored, whether it is a lake house or warehouse, what kind of models you'll be creating so you can keep the models there, what kind of transformations you'll be doing, say, using data flow or say notebooks, then you'll be keeping it there, and what kind of reports you'll create. So you can keep everything in a single workspace. Now there are so many concepts in there. I mean, whether you should keep everything in one workspace or you should keep in multiple workspace. Now that is a different topic to discuss about, which we are not going to talk about. But for the sake of this session and keep it very simple, we'll just talk about one single workspace where we'll have everything. Now, obviously, I'm not creating the demos on the fly today, but I'll be showing you what all different approaches I have used and how it has worked for me. So we are going to look at one of the workspace that I've been working with. And now one workspace, what I created was this Fabric Yellow Taxi workspace. If I click on this workspace, I'll show you some setting as well. I mean, don't look at these things for now. Now, what I did was I just created a normal workspace. And if I show you the workspace setting, I tied it up to my Fabric trial license. So that's why I can see it is Fabric enabled. So I've given it a Fabric trial license. That's why I can see Fabric enabled sign here. So this is a Fabric enabled sign, Microsoft Fabric trial workspace. So this is what this workspace is about. And once I assign a Fabric trial license to my particular workspace, I can start seeing items which are related to Fabric environment. So when I click on it, I can see all the different items like data flow gen 2, copy job. I can see mirroring. I can create notebook, pipeline, Spark job definition, semantic model, and so many different things, lake houses, warehouses. And all these things are part of your Microsoft Fabric environment. But suppose if I have a workspace which is not Microsoft Fabric, I think, one of my workspace is not Fabric enabled. So if I go to this particular workspace, I don't see creating. I can see them, but once I click on them, I won't be able to create them because it hasn't got Fabric trial license attached to it. So let's test this because to create data flow gen to another Fabric item, this Fabric workspace needs to be assigned to a Fabric capacity. So just showing you the difference, like if you assign a workspace to a Fabric capacity, it will show you different items which you can create. But if it is not assigned to a Fabric capacity, you won't be able to create them. So just to show you that. So we'll go back to Fabric Yellow Taxi. Oh yeah, and something new that came up, I think, I don't know, I discovered it last evening. Someone on LinkedIn posted it. Oh gosh, who posted it? This is something I just saw yesterday. So when you click on a workspace here, you can actually navigate through the different folders and other structures that you have created within that workspace. And I literally didn't know when this came up. I mean, this is like huge good thing. I mean, earlier we were not able to see this. We can only go to the workspace and see this stuff. But now if I click on the workspace, I can actually see the whole hierarchy, like what all items are there, if I've got any folders, and I can see a few other things. But yeah, we'll talk about them later. But this is something new, which I just saw on a LinkedIn post last night, and I just thought of checking it out. So pretty cool stuff that came out. And then Microsoft Fabric is evolving on a daily basis. So you never know what updates. Okay, coming back to our session, not talking about the updates. So this is basically a Fabric capacity enabled workspace that I've created. And within this workspace, I created two different ways of working with the data. Now, with the name of the workspace, maybe you'll understand the data I've been using to do some analysis in this workspace. Now, this is a Fabric Yellow Taxi workspace. And what I'm trying to do is I tried to bring in the New York Yellow Taxi data, which is quite huge. It has got somewhere around 2.6 or 2.7 billion rows. And I tried to get that data into this environment and tried to do some things with it. So there were a few ways of bringing that data in. Now, I come from a Power BI background again. So the first thing what I really wanted to try out was, obviously I'm comfortable creating data flows. And then when you have Microsoft Fabric, you have got this new generation of data flows, which is data flow Gen 2. And I really wanted to test it, like, how can this really work? So what I did was, the first thing what I did was I actually created a data flow. Now, as I said, this is a 2.5 billion worth rows of data. We'll see that once it lands in our lakehouse, and then we'll try to analyze a few things on it. So when I opened this data flow and what I created it, now in the earlier days, if I used a data flow to say ingest and transform 2.5 billion worth rows of data, it would just not do it. But within Dataflow Gen 2, there is a capability called fast copy. And this fast copy option is pretty good. It's backed up by some heavy processor, which kind of helps you load like a big data with using the Dataflow Gen 2. And to enable that fast copy option, you can actually go to options here. And under scale, there is something called allow use of fast copy connectors. And once you enable this setting, you will be able to use that fast copy feature within Dataflow. If you don't enable this, and if you try to ingest, say, 2.5 billion worth of data, it will not work, because I tested this and my Dataflow Gen 2 actually ran for like nearly 4 hours, and it kind of crashed the next morning. But then when I tried it using with fast copy, it kind of did that in few minutes. I think 2 or 3 minutes, it kind of loaded the data and wrote it to a lakehouse. So this is the New York taxi data, and I just got this here in few minutes. And yeah, I'm not just doing any transformations here yet, because I wanted to use some other way to transform this huge chunk of data. I could have tried it here as well, but I didn't do it deliberately, because I wanted to use some other capability of Microsoft Fabric to see how it works with this big data. So I just got this New York taxi yellow data and then just saved it to a lakehouse. Okay. Now, one difference between Dataflow, the old data flows, which is Dataflow Gen 1 and Dataflow Gen 2, which is part of Fabric, is when we used to create Dataflow Gen 1 in earlier days, we were never asked to provide a destination where your data will land. Because whenever I created a Dataflow Gen 1, it kind of saved my data in a hidden area, which I didn't have access to. But now in Microsoft Fabric, when you want to land your data at a certain place, you actually can define where you really want your data to land. For example, it could be a lake house, it could be a warehouse, it could be an event hub, it could be a database as well. So it completely depends where you want your data to land in. And again, there are few reasons why you would choose a lake house or a warehouse or or a event hub. But for this session, I just went ahead and chose lake house. One benefit over Lakehouse is that it can actually handle structured and both unstructured data when compared to Warehouse, but there are other reasons as well. So I just went ahead and chose a Lakehouse as a destination here so that this data can can be written here. Now, before doing this, I actually created a Lakehouse first in my workspace. So if I go back to my workspace, yeah, I have to close my data flow first. It's fine, we can close it. So this is the data flow, and I just published it and it kind of wrote my data to Lakehouse. But before doing anything within the workspace, the first thing I did was I created a data landing zone. And the data landing zone for this particular workspace I chose was a Lakehouse. And when I created a Lakehouse in this workspace, it ended up creating 2 different items along with it. One was semantic model default, and the other was a SQL analytics endpoint. Now, this semantic model default, I think this will go in some time. I'm not sure if it works with creating new workspaces now, but at least I can see them in my old workspaces that I've created. But there was a recent update from Microsoft, like this default semantic model will go away. We'll end up having only SQL analytics endpoint. Not sure when that update is coming through or I missed it, but yeah, there will only be a SQL analytics endpoint. Now there's a reason why we have got a SQL analytics endpoint. It can be used to basically, just analyze your data in different ways. Okay, so going back to the data flow, when I created this data flow, fast copy data flow, I can actually show you how much time it took me to write this data. Let's just open. Oh, did I click it? Yeah, I clicked it. I think it took 2-3 minutes in the first time to write this data. It failed for the first time due to certain reason. Yeah, there was some problem with the data. And then it took like 5 minutes to write this data to the lakehouse. I mean, which was kind of pretty fast for me, because earlier when I have tried using data flows with huge data, it just takes like sometimes 20 minutes, 30 minutes to write that data down. But when I'm writing 2.5 billion worth of data within 5 minutes or 6 minutes, it's perfectly fine for me, because this is the fastest I have seen before. But using some other ways, we can write this data pretty much faster. But this was the first way I tried doing, because I come from a low code, no code background. So this was the first thing I wanted to try. So, okay, this kind of landed my data in my lakehouse. So if I go to my lakehouse, let it load. Sometimes it takes time. So this is the table I ended up writing, New York taxi fast copy. The reason I gave it fast copy, because I wanted to just differentiate it with other ways I got the data in here. So I've got the same data in, and it has got like, I'll show you how many rows it has got. So that's the data that came through. Now once the data is there, now there are a few things we can do with it. Let's talk about other way of getting data first, and then we dig into what other things we can do with the data. So let's go and check out other things. So if I go to my workspace, okay, so data flow Gen 2 fast copy capability we checked, and it kind of wrote the data pretty fast. Now the other thing what I really wanted to try was a notebook. Now data engineers use notebook because they are backed up by Spark engine, and they're pretty fast, and that's what I have heard all through my life. So I really wanted to try, okay, can I really use basically, notebook to get the data faster than my data flow? So what I actually ended up doing was I created a New York taxi yellow notebook to load that data. And obviously, to get started with, I got help from Microsoft documentation, where they have given some pre-written code on how you can actually load this data into notebook. But on top of that, I ended up creating a few more things, doing some transformation, cleaning up the data as well. So this is the simple notebook. I mean, I won't take credit for the first 3 cells of the notebook, because this is something I just got from Microsoft documentation, and okay, I'm not doing that for now. And that's something I just copied it from there, these first 3 cells. So what this notebook is doing, it just bringing my New York taxi yellow data in. And then I started, once my data was loaded, I actually started playing with it as a data. So when you work with notebooks, you can actually use few different languages to write your code, again, irrespective of whatever background you come from. So like I had a little bit background working with PySpark in my previous years of experience. So I started doing things with PySpark because I just felt like, okay, I've already done that before, so it will be easier for me to pick up. But suppose if you come from SQL background, or say if you want to write Spark, or say you come from a data science background, you can write R code as well. So within this notebook, you can actually use different codes to write your data, write your code. It could be Python, it could be T-SQL as well, if you're coming from a data warehousing background as well. So you can use different kind of languages. And even within a single notebook, you can use multiple languages as well. Like, for example, in the same notebook, I could have used a PySpark code along with a Spark SQL code. So again, whatever skill set you come from, you can still write the notebook. It doesn't, keeps you away from using them. You can still use them, and it works perfectly fine. So, and you get help all around. So you can just get started. So then I started exploring the data. I wrote it as a data frame. And then I just start seeing, okay, what kind of data is it? Then the first thing I did was I actually counted it was 1.6 billion rows, not 2.6 billion rows. My bad on the count. Sorry about that. So the first thing I did was I just did a simple count on the number of rows, and you can clearly see it's somewhere around 1.6 billion rows worth of data. And then what I did, I start, doing some kind of data cleaning there, because I started seeing few things in the data, and then I had to clean the data up just to make it consistent. So I added some code there to clean the data. And once the data was cleaned, I mean, there are other rules I could have done to clean this data furthermore, but I just ended up doing this small part of it. And then once I was happy with the data, I just ended up writing it as a table in my lakehouse again. So if I go back to my lakehouse, there is a table called New York Taxi Yellow Data. So if I go back to my lakehouse, then there is a table called New York Taxi Yellow Data. And this is the table I wrote using the notebook. And I think it kind of took the similar time in this case, if I'm correct. 1 second, let's see the timing. It took 11 minutes, actually. I'm not sure why it took 11 minutes, but this looks like, yeah, a little bit surprising. But yeah, it took more time. But yeah, the thing is, in this notebook, I'm also transforming the data. In Dataflow Gen 2, I was not transforming it. I just ingested as it is data and wrote it. But here I'm doing additional steps. That's why it might have to be additional time. But still, it's okay, because I learned something new, and there is some other way at least to ingest and transform data in Microsoft Fabric. So that's something new that I learned. So that's how we can actually create a notebook. So again, it's very easy to do that within the environment. So within the Fabric enabled workspace, we can just go to new item and create whatever we want. It could be a Dataflow Gen 2. We can click on it. If we want a notebook, we can directly search things here and just get rolling. Okay, what we really want to do. Now, once the data is there, the first thing, if I look from a data analyst point of view, the first thing what I would do is I would like to analyze the data to a certain level. Okay, what's really happening in the data, what things I've got. Now, whenever we create a lake house, the reason why this SQL analytics endpoint gets created is because you can use the SQL analytics endpoint to analyze your data, say by writing a SQL query. So if I go back here and just go, I can see all my tables here. I can see all the tables I wrote, all the data I've got. Obviously, there are a few other tables you can see here. Then I can see my New York Taxi Yellow data. If I go there, I can see all the columns in there. And pretty quickly, yeah, you can see everything. Now, for example, if I want to analyze the data, or say I just want to see count number of rows in the data, then I can quickly write a new SQL query here. The one thing to remember, this SQL analytics endpoint is a read-only point. It's a read-only environment. You can't modify anything. You can only read the data. Okay. So once your data is there, you can actually start writing queries. Like I ended up writing some basic queries in there, like, for example, just counting number of rows. Now it's a simple select count star from my particular table. So I ended up writing that. I can run that. And then it kind of gives me, okay, it has got 1.57 billion rows of data. Then say I wrote another query, which I was, oh, this is the same query, but we could have written something else. Like, for example, star, let's write. So it kind of helps you, like to analyze your data. You can group your data as well and see how it will look. Like, for example, if you want to group your data using certain different elements as well. Let's see if we have got some more queries in there. I don't think I've got some queries. I used to have certain queries in there, but not sure why. But yeah, this SQL analytics endpoint helps you analyze your data. So you can write your smart queries just to analyze data. And again, if you're coming from data analyst background or SQL background, database developer background, or warehouse background, then yeah, this environment is for you just to go and explore your data, how the data looks in the reality. Because this step is kind of very important, especially before you generate any insights or do any semantic model. Because if you find any discrepancies while analyzing your data, you can always go back to the previous step where you have transformed and cleaned your data and get it corrected. And once that data is like in a right shape, you can go to the next step and create your models. So here we just saw like two different ways of data ingestion. And then we also saw like we can transform data using the notebook and then do some kind of data cleaning as well. Now we have ingested data and then we have basically cleaned and transformed the data and wrote them as tables in the lakehouse. Now the next step comes is let's create a semantic model on top of it. So my modelers and report designers can use it further down the line to, just, generate some insights, or say once this data is ready, actually my data scientist can also use this data to do some predictive modeling and understand what's really happening with the data in the long run. But for this, what we are going to do is we are just going to see how we can create a semantic model. So again, going back to the SQL analytics endpoint, and there's something called reporting at the top. And in the reporting, I can see a new semantic model option. If I go and click on this new semantic model, it opens up a new window and allows me to select certain tables, which I can use to create a semantic model. So for example, I'm creating a new semantic model here, and let's say New York test. I've already created a model, which I'll show you, but yeah, let's just select few tables like New York taxi, yellow data, which is actually my fact table. And then I've got, now I did some kind of, few more things in there, which I'm not showing, like cleaning and transforming the data to get the dimension tables. But yeah, this is what I did. So this is basically my fact table, and then the others are my dimension table. And once I confirm that, it actually ends up creating a semantic model. Let's do that quickly. And then I'll show you a ready semantic model that I created. There's a question. Let us assume that I have multiple existing Azure ADF pipelines available in Git repo. What is the amount of effort involved in migration to Microsoft Fabric pipelines? Who is this asking? Viknesh. Sorry, I can't pronounce your name properly. But Viknesh, I've actually not done that before. I'm not sure if anyone in the, okay, I got some error. Not sure why. I haven't done this before, but as per my understanding, the Azure ADF pipelines are very much similar to Microsoft Fabric pipelines. And anyone in the audience, correct me if I'm wrong here. And what my understanding is, you can directly bring them in some way, but I really don't know the way, because I have seen someone doing that before, or a post around it on LinkedIn. Let me see if I can find that for you. Or can you ping me on LinkedIn so I don't forget this and get that information to you? But yeah, there is a way you can bring your Azure ADF pipelines directly to Microsoft Fabric environment as well. So I'm not sure why this is having an issue. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the ready model that I've got. Otherwise, we'll run into the timing issue. So this is the new model I created, and I'm just going to open this semantic model. And what I did was, this is a very simple semantic model. It's a star schema, basically. You can see I've got a fact table, and then I've got 4 dimension tables going on there. So I've got a payment type, rate code, vendor, and a calendar table. I mean, if you have worked with star schema, you know the importance of a calendar or a date table in the model. So I got a very simple data model there, and it was very easy to create it once those. So let me, for example, delete this one of the relationship. Okay. Okay. Yes. Whenever you open a semantic model, by default, it's in viewing mode. If you have to edit it, you have to go into editing mode. So once I zoom it again, oh, sorry, that is too much, too big. Can't see anything. Let's go back. Sorry about that. Now, for example, let me just delete this existing relationship. And it was very easy to do this. I mean, you just get these tables like this without created any relationship. And what you can do is you can just drag and drop the column so that you can get the relationship created as well. So for example, this is my ID, and the key for this particular is, I think, payment type. So I go there and create a relationship. And once I do that, a new screen comes up where I can just do a relationship. It kind of got cardinality and cross-filter direction by itself, and then I just save it. And once I do that, my relationship is created. And if you work with Power BI, everything is so much similar here. I mean, all the relationship properties here, I can see all the tables here, I can see the model information here, which is pretty cool. I mean, I can see all my relationships, that I've got 5 tables, then the number of measures I've got on this data model, number of expressions I've created a database query, I've got, yeah, cultures, that's fine. Then I can quickly see all my measure definitions here. If I want to create new measures, I can create new measure. Now we can create new table and calculation groups as well. And we can now even create parameters in this own environment. So earlier, I think this thing was not there, but now we can do that. We can create row level security now. Earlier, creating row level security or, creating roles was not possible in the Fabric Cloud environment. It was only possible in Power BI Desktop or through Tabular Editor, but now you can do that here as well. And then obviously there are a few more good things here, like if you want to understand whether your model is done, keeping in mind best practice analyzer, you can invoke it from here, and then it will tell you what is wrong with the model, what all things you should correct to make it better. You can again use memory analyzer to understand the statistics and the storage around your semantic model if you want to optimize it further. So there are so many things that were possible currently only in Power BI Desktop, but now you can do that in Microsoft Fabric environment only. So this is how easily you can create a semantic model. And once that semantic model is ready, you can further go on top of that and then create reports. So this is my semantic model. And if I click on these 3 dots, I get option to create a report on top of it. So if I click on that, it actually opens a blank canvas and it connects to the data model here. I'm in my semantic model, and then I can start dragging, see my say column, and then I can just start dragging the information around it, like, yeah, could be a little slow, but it's fine. So you can start creating the data there. Okay, like how the data has been. Let's take 2 trips. So you can start creating and dragging, and your report will be ready. Like, for example, I ended up creating a report. I'm not saving it right now because sometimes these things take time. And also I'm screen sharing in Teams, so it has to be slow. It's always slow. So I just ended up creating a very simple report, nothing major in there, nothing fancy, very simple charts in there, some KPIs, and some charts there being showing something coming from the data. So you can create that on top of it. And now if I go back to the workspace, now there are a few things let's talk about. Now this was very simple thing that we could have done. Now the other thing what you can do within a workspace is you can actually create a task flow. Now task flow is something, consider this like a flow of the events happening within the workspace. Like for example, for getting data, I used a notebook. I also used a data pipeline, which I didn't show. And then I stored my data, say, in a lakehouse. And using that data, I created a semantic model. I also did some back storage of data by doing prepare and transfer and writing it back to lakehouse. But if we see this part, using the semantic model, I created a report, and I also created a data exploration. So whenever you have a model, like for example, this model can actually explore the data as well. There is an option to, one second. Sometimes these options are so small, it's kind of explore the data. So when you click on that, you can do data exploration, which is like very simple. You can drag and drop the data. You can see, you can create the charts and see, like, for example, I created one data exploration. I just want to quickly show stuff, keeping in mind, I created on top of this, just connecting it. This was done. So, okay, something is wrong. My payment, I feel, okay, something is wrong. Okay, let's not go into that. I'm not correcting it right now. Demos can go wrong, so it's fine for me. So yeah, we can do all these things. But there are a few things that we should be, aware of, especially while we are working with Microsoft Fabric. If I go to my Fabric environment here, or rather than going here, if you see something like One Lake Catalog, now see, we created a simple cycle there, like ingesting the data, transforming the data, modeling. We also saw some calculations measures we created on top of the semantic model. Then we saw how we can connect that semantic model and create a report. So I already showed you everything ready, but yeah, this is how we ended up doing this, a simple cycle. But when you're working on this Fabric environment, it is also important for you to understand what's really happening in the environment. You really need to understand things from monitoring point of view, like what you can really say, monitor within the environment. So there is something called One Lake Catalog. And if you click on this kind of really shows you a few things. The first thing, once you see in the One Lake Catalog, is it kind of shows you a summary, like what all items I've got in the whole tenant. So in this tenant, like for example, I've got few semantic models going on, few lake houses going on, SQL analytics endpoint going on. So I can see all that happening here. I've got event houses, there are some staging. Yeah, so I can see every different item that I have created within my whole tenant, including all the workspaces. And then by every workspace also, I can see what all items I have within that workspace. So it kind of shows me everything in here. But another thing, what is good here is the govern side of things. Now, governance is really important when it comes to understanding data consistency, and there are no duplicates and other stuff happening. And even when you talk about permissions and access rights, then yeah, you need to understand and have proper governance in place. So this govern tab kind of gives you really good stuff. Like if you see, if I just open this, it gives you a summary of a report, which kind of shows you, let it open. Yeah. So it kind of shows me a few things like, okay, what is the overview content that I've created within my Fabric environment? So I can see I've got like 114 items going on there. I can just go and expand them. What kind of, so I'm not talking about domains and subdomains right now. That's another topic, but we are talking about workspaces. So I've got all these, so many different workspaces going on there. Under every workspace, I can see what kind of different, items I have created. Within that, I can see, okay, what kind of models I've got, or say what kind of notebooks I have created, what different data flows I've created. So it kind of shows me a data hierarchy. Okay, what's all is happening in all the workspaces that I have, got here. And if I go further down, it kind of gives me items by different types as well. Okay, there are 33 semantic models, 19 reports, and then so on. I've got data flows, and then warehouses and lake houses and so on. I can also see like all my workspaces are assigned to a single domain. I haven't got that different domains concept here right now implemented. I can see there is one semantic model that failed in the last refresh type. I can see the access date as well, how I have accessed the items before and items by last refresh date. So there are few things that this report kind of tells me, like in a picture, in a high level view, like what's really happening. And also say if I want to understand the monitoring, or say data lineage and impact analysis, I can do all these kind of things as well. Then there is also admin monitoring that we can do here. We can see now this will be only available for admins of the tenant. It won't be available for everyone. So like I am the admin of my own tenant, so I can see this and I've generated it. So this again tells you everything at a administrative level. Like this particular report tells you like usage and adoption report. It kind of tells you, okay, how many users were active, how many activities have taken in a certain date range, what are the most active workspaces. Like for example, Fabric Contoso is one of the is the most active workspaces, and it kind of shows me I've got 2 active workspaces there. Then I've got most active operations and then most active users. Now I'm the only user, so it will show me only me. Again, I can have analysis on this. There is another tab that kind of gives you analysis around total activities by users by date. Now I'm the only user. That's why I'll have all the activities. And in all the total activities, I can actually see by item type as well what all different type of activities I have been doing as a user on this particular tenant. Then there's another tab for inventory, which kind of tells me another level of information. Okay, inventory status by workspaces. Like, for example, if I whether these workspaces are active or not active. I can also right click on them and see the activity at a workspace level. Like, for example, I right click on Fabric Yellow Taxi, then I can see, okay, activity details, what all activities have taken place within that workspace. So from an admin point of view, it's really important for you to understand what's really happening in different workspaces within your tenant, because it kind of helps you, take care of like what's really happening and, what's been really going through over the time and what users are doing in the workspace. So we can get all that kind of information in this admin monitoring tab as well. What else? Let me show you. What else can we see? Yeah, this monitor tab again tells you like what all processes or activities were created in your tenant, and then you can see what all succeeded, what all failed. So it kind of again gives you understanding on what all processes have been created, succeeded, and failed. And this is kind of really important, which really works. And then one other thing what I really want to show quickly is, Deepti, do we have 5 more minutes?
Go ahead, Pragati.
Okay.
Sure.
So one thing what I really love about Fabric is semantic link labs. Now, semantic link labs have opened a new, capability for us within this environment now, because when I think from a Power BI developer point of view, it is really sometimes frustrating that sometimes when we work for a client and, and as a Power BI developer, I'm used to working with external tools like Tabular Editor or say DAX Optimizer and all those things, a measure killer. But sometimes what happens is there are certain clients where we are not allowed to install these external tools. We are say only allowed to install Power BI desktop and then do our stuff. But sometimes we really need these external tool capabilities so that we can optimize our semantic models so that they work in the best way as the client requires. So this semantic link actually enables you to do that everything in this single model, in this single environment. That's why I like to say you can do everything within a single hood when you're working with Microsoft Fabric. You really don't have to go outside. I'm not saying it kind of replaces those external tool capabilities, but still it gives you some of the important capabilities that are really required when you're working with your semantic models. So for example, if you want to run your best practice analyzer, then in semantic link labs, you can just create some notebooks, and those notebooks just help you understand, okay, what's really happening on your model. And I really found it important. Rather than going at multiple places, I can do everything in a single environment. I just wrote a simple notebook, and everything, again, all this code is given to you ready. You really have to just make few changes to it and it just works. And what this, for example, notebook is doing, it kind of tells me how my model is, like what all problems are with my model, like for example DAX expression. Now, if you remember this New York taxi yellow date, I had an inactive relationship going on between date table and my fact table. So it's kind of telling me I have never used that in active relationship. Then there are some issues with the formatting. So it kind of tells me, okay, I need to correct these formattings with the columns. Then there are maintenance issues. Then there are performance issues there. So like, for example, I'm using floating type data type. So it kind of telling me don't use that. I haven't marked by date table as date tables, which kind of telling me. So again, it's telling me the ways I can optimize and, improve my data model. Again, not going somewhere else, I can see everything in here. So again, like semantic link labs is again one of the very powerful feature of this particular environment. And then apart from that, one thing what I recently talked about was transanalytical flows in Microsoft Fabric environment. And that's, again, that feature is under preview, but still it has got so much capability because transanalytical flows allow you to enable the write back capability in Microsoft Fabric environment. Now, those who have worked with Power BI before, they understand how problematic it was earlier to create I mean, obviously, it's easy to create a Power App form, but then you need to connect everything. You need to have a Power App license different to enable that kind of solution for you. But now, just having that Fabric licensing, you can do everything within the single licensing. You really don't need additional licensing, and it kind of allows you to write back to your basically database, and then take inputs from users. Like, for example, why product sells. Say if a user wants, if your CEO is seeing your product sales report and they just want to understand why this product sales was not that great in last 3 months, then they can actually write comments and send it to the backend, so that you can go and start figuring out or understanding what's really happening. So it's really easy to submit those comments and write them back into your Fabric environment. I mean, obviously, you can write it to different kind of data storage layers, but like I used a SQL database, and it kind of works perfectly fine. So yeah, there are few things you can really do in Fabric, which kind of helps you come out of issues that you used to have earlier while creating those analytic solutions. So yeah, Fabric has so much going on there. So it's not something that you should not be doing it. You should definitely be checking out what Microsoft Fabric is about. So we did a very quick tour around Microsoft Fabric, as this was a Whirlwind tool. That's why I showed you the ready-made demo. I didn't create everything from scratch. But yeah, hopefully it kind of gave you an understanding on how we can create an end-to-end analytics solution quickly in Microsoft Fabric. And then there are a few resources which you can use, which I've already talked about: Fabric documentation, Fabric learn parts. Then there are blogs by amazing MVPs. And if you want to get expertise on Microsoft Fabric, there are 2 certifications right now: DP 600, which is Analytics Engineer Certificate, and DP 700, which is Data Engineer Certificate. So you can try to focus on whichever suits your skill set at this stage. And then also there's Career Hub page, where there are a few other learning resources you can join. And then in the end, thank you, and hopefully you learned at least one thing today out of this session. I won't expect, because I know there are experts in the audience around Microsoft Fabric here. So hopefully you learned at least something new today around Microsoft Fabric. And yeah, thank you, and happy to take if there are any questions.
Thank you so much, Pragati. This is a great session. Definitely, we'll stop the recording, and then we will upload it onto the YouTube. If anybody wants to revisit and review the recording, it will be available in a couple of days. So if anybody have any questions, this is the right time to either unmute yourself, or you can either put it in the chat window. We'll give a couple of more minutes to see if anybody have any questions. But this is great, Pragati. I myself have to revisit after it is being recorded.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully it helped people. But
And
yeah,
the new option
please.
is really interesting. Like, the new option is really amazing. Like, on the left side
Which
pan
one?
view, it gives the latest. You said like there is a latest.
It
Yeah, the
kind of
visualization.
gives
Yeah,
you the hierarchy. Yeah, hierarchy of the
exactly.
elements within your workspace. Yeah, I don't remember yesterday. I don't know. No, I won't say a name. I'm definitely wrong. But yeah, some known person posted it last night on LinkedIn, and I was like, what? And I was like, oh, I need to
That's
check
great.
it.
Yeah,
And
because we
that's
have.
kind of yeah.
So it will nicely put it in a category, and you can simply easily
Yeah,
identify.
exactly. You can easily see, like, how the things are really happening in your workspace, what items you have created, how many items you have created, right? So, and just going back to the question that we had in the chat about migrating your Azure ADF pipelines. Now, as I said earlier, I haven't done this before, but there are few Microsoft links I can see online, which kind of gives you some understanding around how you can plan on migrating your ADF pipelines. So just see if this really helps. And if not, let me know. I can actually ask few people, because there are experts in this community, and I'm sure they know about it. So there is also a thread going on where people are asking questions around how they can migrate Azure Data Factory to Microsoft Fabric. I'm not sure if it is related to pipelines particularly, but definitely could be something you can see here. Yeah, let me know if that helps. Yeah.
So Pragati, I have a question myself.
Mhm,
If it is not related to this session, right? Please skip, right?
mhm,
But I have a question regarding the Fabric metric tool, the metrics that we can see that we have from the Fabric itself. So will it um like will it update every day? Can we see the updated data?
The
I know
fab,
it will
you
refresh only
mean
one time a day. Yeah,
the Fabric Capacity Metrics app,
metrics
right?
app. Yes, exactly.
Yeah, yeah. I think my understanding is it updates. That's what my understanding is. Are you
Once
looking
every
at
day it
the?
updates the, I mean, like the schedule refresh is only set to one day and we can't
Yeah,
refresh multiple times. So
yeah, yeah.
how do we get the updated data? Like if I click, I can only see the yesterday's data, but the people were like, how do we know? Like how do we get alerts? And those alerts, if we set up, they are not working
Hmm.
properly through the activator. Like if I use the
Oh.
activator and set up the CU alerts, like if the
Hmm.
capacity hits like 80%, send
Yeah,
me an email.
yeah.
That is never working, but it is working through the, if I go to the capacity level and select in the admin portal to send me an alert if the capacity
Hmm.
hits 80%, that is working. But if I wanted to do the alerts, like specific alerts of like, hey, send me for this particular
Hmm.
capacity, if it reaches this through the activator, it never works. I'm really
That's
struggling.
yeah. That sounds like something I have to try because I haven't tried it honestly. So I'll have to test it, Deepti. But I'll
Yeah,
definitely check it out. Yeah, I'll definitely check it out and get back to you. But yeah, thanks for asking that question because it kind of gave me a curiosity to understand why it's really not happening. Or so you created an activator alert, right, to get those
yes,
alerts.
within
That's how
the
you're trying
metrics
to do
app itself. Yeah,
within the metrics app. Yeah, 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 yeah. Okay, okay. Let me check that, Deepti, because I
yeah,
remember I had this Microsoft Fabric Capacity Metrics app some time back, and I think I'll have to update it now because I think it
yeah.
kind of you'll have to go and update it again. So I'm just trying to update it and see like what's really happened. But yeah, I can definitely go and check this for you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, definitely. So yeah, the recording will be available and it will be posted on our YouTube channel. I'm trying to find the link to the YouTube channel. I'll post it here. And Pragati, do you have a
Mhm.
location where you already shared your slides or do you have to upload it?
No, I will actually share a GitHub link with you if that's fine.
Yeah, sure.
I will put my, and is that okay if I share that by tomorrow or something?
Definitely.
Or let me see if I can put that quickly. It's okay, I can just put that quickly. It's just easier, I guess. Um,
So I have pasted the YouTube channel link over there. If you can, if you subscribe and put that little bell icon, you'll get a notification when we upload the new videos.
okay, I'm just putting in my. Okay, now data. Just give me a minute. I'm just putting that file and I'll share the GitHub
Sure.
link. And sorry if you heard noise of my little one. He's little cranky.
The little goose, it's so cute all the time.
He's just not been keeping well, and this,
Oh,
I mean, like an hour back, my mind was just in a different one, and I was like, oh gosh, how I'm going to do the session today.
you did great.
Uh, but yeah, these, yeah, I mean, yeah, first time mom. first time mom, so challenges, but yeah, it's fine. Okay, so this is the GitHub link where you can find the presentation.
Awesome.
I think everyone should be able to access this. Yeah. So let me
Yeah.
know if you can access it. There should be one link in there.